Good morning, everyone. I probably don't need to introduce myself, but there are some unfamiliar faces here. So I'm Steve Matuszak. I'm the head teacher here at Dharma Field, and it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today. Again, for Dharma Field regulars, it probably needs no introduction, but again, some new faces here. So I'm very happy to welcome Warren Lang here this morning. Warren is a longtime practitioner of Zen in the Soto tradition. He ordained with Steve Hagen in 2001. And he co-founded and is co-facilitating the Red Cedar Buddha Sangha in Menominee, Wisconsin, which is just a little bit outside of the Twin Cities. I don't know that I have anything else to say. Warren, anything I should add to that?
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thank
fantastic. Well, take it away, Warren.
Thank you, Steve. Well, good morning, everyone. Is my mic working okay? I tend to sometimes speak softly, so if I sort of fall down and start going like this, please raise your hand or or something. But anyhow, it's thank you for that introduction, Steve. It's a pleasure to be back in Dharma Field since pre-COVID. I was figuring maybe 2019 maybe was the last time I was here in person. I've been here a few times on Zoom and through some classes I took online. It's great to be with you all, and thank you all for coming out on this gray but really very pleasant Sunday, I think. Weather is actually very calm outside, so. Sometimes when we're conversing with people, a relative or a friend, and at the end of the conversation, they'll admonish us, keep in touch, please keep in touch. And there are people we remain in contact with, we do keep in touch with. But how often do we keep in touch with ourselves? In Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, Suzuki Roshi relates this anecdote, which I think is actually a koan from the Mumonkan, about 8th century Zen master Zuikan. He writes, Zuikan was a Zen master who always used to address himself. Zuikan, he would call, and then he would answer, yes. Zuikan, yes. Of course, he was living all alone in his small hut. And of course, he knew who he was, but sometimes he lost himself. Whenever he lost himself, he would address himself. Zuikan, yes. So it's kind of amusing to think about Zuikan calling to and then answering himself. But he had the right idea. As students of Zen and meditation, we understand how often we lose ourselves in our distracting thoughts. Probably as we sat here before this talk, certainly I was losing myself frequently. I didn't, unfortunately for everyone, I didn't yell out, Warren, yes. Anyhow, we all know we lose ourselves in our thoughts frequently and need to come back. As we practice, we begin to realize that most of our lives are spent engaged in our stream of thoughts and out of touch with what is actually happening and with our true self, so much that at times I personally have had many instances where I can't remember what I just did. It's really embarrassing. Like for one example I can think of is when I've taken showers and then my mind is going, I'm thinking about yesterday, today, tomorrow, who knows what. And I wake up, so to speak, and I realize, now wait a minute, did I just wash my face or not? And then I often wash it again, just in case. And I should be, doing what Zuikan said. Warren, yes? Keeping in touch with our true self and what's happening immediately around us is a key to our practice. Our practice is at heart about awareness, mindfulness. How can we expect to break out of the prison of our delusions unless we are in touch with reality? Our true self or big mind, or many other names, Norm usually gives a big list of them. I can't name them all, Norm. Anyhow, that big self or big true self is beyond concept or description. We can't grasp it with our usual minds, which operate through concepts, which are like little boxes we put things in. And the big mind, the true self, does not fit into a box. And the more we seek it, the more we lose it. Sensei Hagen used to talk about the golden fish, talk about this as the golden fish. If we pursue the golden fish, it swims away from us. But if we lower our nets, sometime the golden fish may swim in. So what does it mean to lower our nets? It means basically to pay attention, to be truly present in the here and now. We can't pursue the golden fish. We can be mindful of whatever is arising at every moment. Since the true self or absolute reality is not separate from sense phenomena or relative reality, by paying attention to our immediate experience, we touch the true self. So, how do we keep in touch? Thich Nhat Hanh has a few simple steps we can follow that sums up what we need to do. He boils it down to this: stop, be, look, see. That's stop, be, look, see. So the first thing to do when we become aware that we're lost in our thinking is to stop. Stop following our thoughts and come back to our breath, our bodies. We can't prevent thoughts from arising, but we can stop following them. Suzuki Roshi has this nice little thing he says, leave your front door and your back door open. Allow your thoughts to come and go. Just don't serve them tea. Now, sometimes this may mean to physically stop what we're doing, take a few conscious breaths, and go on more mindfully. Whatever we do after stopping will be done with greater clarity and calm. You can also stop without physically stopping. There's a wonderful story about the Buddha and Angulimala, a serial killer, that illustrates this. So there was this, in the Buddha's time, there was this serial killer, Angulimala. He would kill people, he killed quite a few people, and he'd cut off their fingers and put them on a necklace around his neck. It has something to do with a curse and blah, blah. I don't remember the whole, it's a long story, but the important part is the part I'm going to tell you. So people were warning the Buddha not to go out on his usual mindful walk in the morning because this killer was reputed to be in the neighborhood. But the Buddha ignored that, and he went out and he was walking very mindfully and calmly, and he hears a voice behind him. Monk, stop! Keeps on walking. It's Angulimala, of course. Keeps on walking. Monk, stop! Keeps on walking, just very mindfully, quietly. Finally, Angulimala runs and steps out in front of the Buddha and says, Monk, when I told you to stop, why didn't you stop? And the Buddha said very calmly, I stopped a long time ago. It's you who haven't stopped. And at that point, it said, Angulimala broke down, started crying, eventually became one of Buddha, almost immediately actually, became one of the Buddha's monks. So it's one of my favorite stories. So once we stop, we can just be. When we can step aside from the stream of thought and be with whatever is arising without any struggle to change it, hold on to it, or push it away. Our society is based on constant doing, constant striving to get something better or more. whether it's a better job or a car or more money, more power, more prestige, always more, 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 and go, go, go. We allow ourselves little time to just be without any goal or striving. In fact, we may find just being frightening. When I've gone to doctor's appointments, I used to always bring a book or a magazine, and more recently my phone to read, so that I had something to do while waiting. I felt the need to be distracted in this seemingly empty space of waiting. Lately, though, I've decided not to distract myself, but just to wait without anything in particular to do, kind of waiting meditation. I just sit, follow my breath, or just notice what's ever around me. I can be what Zen Master Rinzai called the businessless person. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. Of course, just as in our sitting meditation, thoughts come, but as Suzuki says, we don't have to serve them tea. When I've attended sessions here, one of my favorite moments was during the break after meals. I would get a cup of tea and just drink my tea and look out the window at whatever the day offered. So I had done so much stopping during many sittings. My mind was calm, alert, settled. I felt content, happy to just be. I didn't feel a need for doing. Those times really stick out to me, a really good example for myself. So stopping and being on the first two wings, stopping and being are the first wing of the two wings of meditation practice. First one, shamatha, which is stopping and being, concentration, calming, peaceful abiding. But of course, a bird needs two wings to fly. Looking and seeing are the second wing, vipassana, or insight. Looking is the next step in the process of keeping in touch. Once we become concentrated and calm, we're able to truly look, observe our sense input and our minds unfiltered by our biases, our likes and dislikes. We tend usually to see the world through the lens of me, what I find attractive and want, what I am averse to and don't want, or what doesn't interest me and I don't care about. We view the world through the lens of our often wrong assumptions and perceptions. A long time ago, when I was in graduate school, that was a long time ago. But I always remember this incident. I was walking on campus one day, and there was a woman I knew who was about to pass me, coming in the other direction. So I waved and smiled or something like that. She just went right by. No, didn't recognize me at all or whatever. I felt kind of miffed or dissed, as they say, by that. Well, what's wrong with her? Does she think she's so much better than me? Doesn't she care? Maybe she doesn't like me. She wants to get rid of me. I don't know. Well, later I learned the truth. She was extremely nearsighted, but was too vain to wear her glasses. She didn't see me. She probably just saw some blur walking by. And maybe if I'd been practicing in those days, I would have looked at the stories I was telling as just that, stories I made up, not what actually happened. So we tell ourselves stories. We make up stories about things all the time. I know I do. Oh, I wonder what our neighbor's doing. Oh, maybe maybe he's doing this. Maybe, who knows what he's doing, why he's doing it. Anyhow, I could have, if I had been practicing, I might have looked at it and said, well, that's just a story I'm making up. I don't actually know what's going on in her mind or what worries she has or anything. But in this case, I was fortunate and I discovered the real story, could let go of my hurt feelings and still be her friend. But it could have happened that I never heard her side, but go on wasting mental and emotional energy, resenting her. Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us to say to ourselves, for most things, maybe for everything, are you sure? These days, I think about Congresswoman Liz Cheney co-chair of the House Select Committee to investigate the attack on the Capitol. I admit I'm a progressive in my politics, and imagine I would disagree with Ms. Cheney, who is a staunch conservative on most matters. In the past, I might well have been angered by her support of issues I oppose. I might have called her names, conjured up stories about her. Was I sure? I thought so. But now I find myself admiring her for bucking her own party and taking a stand for democracy and truth. What did I really know about her as a whole person? So when I do get angry, I try to stop, return to myself, bring up the energy of mindfulness, truly look at my anger, and remind myself that any stories I'm making up are just that, stories. I try to ask myself, am I sure? Then I'm often able to let go of my anger. I can still oppose what people are saying or doing, but not out of anger, more out of caring and compassion. It's quite a relief to not follow our thoughts and feelings around trying to get things right, meaning the way we would like it to be. Letting our thoughts and feelings lead us around is like being with a spoiled child. I want this. No, not this, that. No, I don't want that. No, I do want that. No, I want to go there. No, here, no, there. And so on and on. What if we stopped and truly looked at the child? Maybe we'd be able to see that he was suffering and needed our love. We can embrace him, reassure him, and quiet his craving mind. What a relief that would be for both of us. We feel so free. We could relax and enjoy each moment. The only thing standing between us and awakening is our attachment to our stream of thoughts, our beliefs, our biases, and therefore to our sense of a permanent self. Holding to our thoughts, suffering. Letting go, awakening. Next comes seeing. Once we look honestly and without bias at our thoughts, we begin to see, to have insight into the true nature of things. We begin to see that our thoughts and feelings are ephemeral and are not us. Thich Nhat Hanh is a little gatha, a practice poem that speaks to this. Emotions come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breath is my anchor. When we begin to truly see, we have the insight that we're not separate from what is around us. Other people, trees, birds, sky, even buildings and cars. Begin to see we're interdependent with all beings. We inter-are. As we continue in our practice, it'll begin to seem absurd to us that, say, a tree or your hand can exist on its own. We begin to see the world around us without the barrier of a separate self. We can also see that our emotions and thoughts are not separate entities either. We can mindfully explore them and discover their roots. We get angry, say, we have been somehow feeding that anger. If we discover what has been feeding our anger, we'll be better able to transform our anger to compassion for ourselves. This seeing is heart-opening. Since we see our connection with all beings, we see that we can't exist by ourselves. We see that the politician we so dislike is part of us as well. Compassion and love toward all, no matter who they are, will arise. Consequently, we feel connected with our true self, which is not different from the true self of all beings. This is to keep in touch in the largest sense. We likely won't see this all at once. To be awake is not a once and for all event. Awakening is something that takes place moment to moment. We can have small awakenings and large ones, but it's certain that if we take the time to stop, be, look, see, insight will arise and our freedom and happiness will grow. What will also happen if we stay in touch in this way is that we'll become more and more mindful in our everyday lives, and therefore more and more anchored in our true self, in absolute reality, the ultimate dimension. We can't really put any labels on this dimension. It's beyond words and concepts. Nonetheless, it's experienced as ever present, unchanging, unborn, and indestructible. The Buddha said, "O bhikkhus, there is the unborn, ungrown, and unconditioned. Were there not the unborn, ungrown, unconditioned, there would be no escape for the born, grown, and conditioned. Since there is the unborn, ungrown, and unconditioned, so there is escape for the born, grown, and conditioned." Now, the escape the Buddha is talking about is not an escape from our everyday lives. In fact, it's being more intimately in touch with our lives. It's being mindfully in touch with what's actually happening within and around us, as we've already spoken about. We touch the ultimate dimension when we live each moment mindfully. Why is it important to keep in touch with the ultimate dimension? Since the ultimate is unborn, ungrown, unconditioned, it never changes and it's always there. As the Buddha also pointed out, and as we can clearly see for ourselves, everything we see, hear, touch, smell, think is impermanent, constantly changing. If we cling to these objects in order to be happy, satisfied, secure, we'll continually be disappointed. This is what the Buddha called dukkha, often translated as suffering, but perhaps better understood as dissatisfaction. Suppose, for example, I tie my self-esteem to my work. I'm a welder, a salesperson, a teacher. If I get fired and can't find another position in my expertise, how would I feel about myself? My identity has been shattered. Or suppose that every time I feel bad about something in my life, I drink or eat sweets or watch TV. These activities might make me feel good for a while, but in the end, what I feel bad about is still there. The Buddha tells us, therefore, Ananda, be a lamp unto yourself, be a refuge to yourself. Take yourself to no external refuge. Hold fast to the truth as a lamp. Hold fast to the truth as a refuge. The Buddha admonishes us to not take refuge in external things, but to take refuge in ourselves. Now here the Buddha is not referring to our narrow ego selves involved in the endless stream of thoughts and feelings, but in the true universal self, the ultimate dimension. This is a true anchor for us, one that no one can take from us, one that will not change or vanish, but it's always there for us. This gives our lives stability, enables us not to be tossed about by our thoughts and feelings. This is the beauty and wonder of our practice. We keep in touch with the true self, not by achieving some special, lofty state of mind, by being mindfully in touch with whatever arises, whether we perceive what is arising as pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Truth and refuge abide with us among the mundane things of the world, but only if we see their true nature. To be anchored in the true self or reality is to feel whole, satisfied. Living only in relative reality, only in the historical dimension, is to be incomplete, dissatisfied. After all, the truth is we are both dimensions, both realities, and ultimately they can't be separated. So by feeling we only live in relative reality, we're living an illusion. Thich Nhat Hanh uses the analogy of water and wave. So a wave, to personify it a little, may be up there at its peak and look around and say, oh my gosh, look at this, I've arisen, and now, wow, pretty soon I'm going to fall, and then what'll I be? What'll happen? I won't exist anymore. But what if the wave could look more deeply and see that its true nature is water? It arose from water, will endure for a while as water, and will continue to be water when it falls. The wave would then have no fear, knowing its essential nature cannot change. Of course, this is not to say that we can ignore relative reality. To believe we're only absolute is also an illusion. We need to take care of relative reality, take care of our lives. But if we live our whole truth, keeping in touch with the ultimate dimension, will give us the stability, calm, and compassion to carry on most effectively with our daily lives. If we don't have this wholeness, we more readily fall prey to despair, fear, worries. Truly seeing, we will understand we inter-are with all beings and will naturally want to extend our peace, our calm, our love to others. By keeping in touch with our true self, we keep in touch with our whole reality, both relative and absolute. As Thich Nhat Hanh says, the way out is in. I know that when I'm in touch with myself, it feels easy to reach out to others, to feel closer to the natural world, and to be nourished by the beauty around me. So we all need to be like Zui Khan and call out to ourselves, be in touch with our true self, to remind ourselves that we have been distracted. When we get in touch, we leave the path of anxiety and sorrow and bring ourselves back to the path of wholeness we have never left, but only forgotten. Thank you. Well, any questions, comments, insights, arguments? David.
Lines in your thought is worthy of being in the buffer state. To hold on to our thoughts, suffering, let go, no more. Okay.
Thank you. So you're going to have some of those made up, David? All right, send me one, will you? Anything else? I guess I've answered all questions already. How about that? Okay, well, thank you all very much for listening.